Picture this. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. You're sitting at your kitchen table, staring at your phone screen, and your heart just dropped into your stomach. You just paid off $23,000 in credit card debt. You celebrated. You told everyone. You felt free. And tonight, you just realized you're back at $8,000, and you have absolutely no idea how it happened. If that sentence made your chest tight, or if you're secretly living this right now, do not look away, because today, we're talking about the debt cycle nobody admits to, and more importantly, how to actually break it for good. Hi, I'm Daniel Brooks, and you're watching Wealthic Voyage. Today, we're diving into one of the most uncomfortable, rarely discussed financial realities, the debt boomerang effect. Here's what I want you to really think about before we go any further. Have you ever worked incredibly hard to get out of debt, like really hard, sacrificed, budgeted, ate ramen, said no to things you wanted, only to find yourself, months or years later, right back where you started? Maybe not as deep, but definitely not free. If you raised your hand mentally, you are not alone. And honestly, you're probably more normal than the people who claim they've never struggled with this. Because here's the truth that the perfect finance gurus won't tell you. Getting out of debt is hard. Staying out of debt? That's a completely different game. And today, we're going to play that game together, openly, honestly, and with zero judgment. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's talk about why your money keeps running in circles, and how to finally make it run forward. Let me take you back. 3 years ago, I got an email from a viewer, I'll call her Sarah, that changed how I think about debt forever. Sarah was 29 years old, living in Chicago, working a marketing job she actually liked, and for 2 years, she had been on what she called her destruction mission. She called it that because she was destroying her debt. $34,000 in student loans, $12,000 in credit card debt from a rough patch after college, a car loan, all of it. She took a second job delivering food on weekends. She moved into a smaller apartment. She stopped buying coffee out. She used every single bonus, every tax refund, every birthday check from grandma to hammer away at those numbers. And on March 15th, a date she still remembers, she made the final payment. She screenshot the zero balance. She cried happy tears in her car. She called her mom. She posted about it on Instagram. She went out to dinner with friends and didn't check the price of anything on the menu. She was free. Now, fast forward with me. 8 months later. Same Sarah, same job, same city. She opens her credit card statement, and the number staring back at her is $6,400. Not $34,000, not catastrophic, but also not zero. And the worst part? She couldn't point to one big thing. No medical emergency, no job loss, no disaster, just life. And somehow, $6,400 had appeared like fog on a mirror. Sarah emailed me because she felt like a failure. She felt like all that sacrifice had been for nothing. She felt like maybe she was the problem, not the debt. And when I read that email, I realized something. Sarah's story isn't unusual. In fact, it's so common that most people are too embarrassed to talk about it. So let's start here. If you've been in Sarah's shoes, or if you're in them right now, I need you to hear this clearly. You did not fail. Your system failed. And today, we're going to rebuild that system. Okay, let's get scientific for a minute. But don't worry, I'll keep it simple. When you're in debt payoff mode, something fascinating happens in your brain. You enter what psychologists call a scarcity mindset. Every decision filters through one question. Does this help me get out of debt? That morning latte? No. Make coffee at home. That weekend trip? No. Stay home and work extra hours. Those new shoes? No. The old ones are fine. And here's the thing. This scarcity mindset actually works for debt payoff. It focuses you. It gives you clarity. It makes saying no easier because you have a clear yes you're working toward. But then you hit zero. And suddenly, the thing that was guiding every decision, the debt, is gone. It's like training for a marathon for 2 years, running every day, watching your diet, building up endurance, and then crossing the finish line and thinking, great, now I never have to exercise again. Your brain doesn't naturally transition from debt destruction mode to wealth building mode. It transitions to relief mode. And relief mode? Relief mode is dangerous. Here's what happens psychologically. Number 1, the release valve effect. After months or years of restriction, your brain craves reward. And I'm not talking about healthy rewards, I'm talking about the stuff you've been denying yourself. The dinners out, the new clothes, the upgraded apartment, the vacation. And because you earned it by paying off your debt, these purchases feel justified. They feel like celebration spending. But celebration spending has a sneaky way of becoming regular spending. Number 2, the identity crisis. This one's deeper. When you're in debt payoff mode, part of your identity becomes the person getting out of debt. You're disciplined, you're focused, you're on a mission. But once the debt is gone, who are you now? For many people, there's a subtle loss of purpose. The goal that was driving you is achieved, and without a new goal, old habits creep back in. Number 3, the false sense of security. This might be the biggest trap of all. Once you pay off your debt, you start feeling like you've figured out money. Like you graduated from Financial Struggle University with honors. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Paying off debt and managing wealth require completely different skills. Debt payoff is about destruction. It's about eliminating obligations. Wealth building is about creation. It's about growing assets. And most people never learn the second skill set because they think the first one was enough. Let me give you a real example of how this plays out. I want to introduce you to Marcus. Marcus is a friend of mine. He gave me permission to share his story, although he asked me to change some details because he's still a little embarrassed about it. Marcus is 35, works in tech sales, lives in Austin, makes good money, about $95,000 a year, which in Austin goes pretty far. 4 years ago, Marcus was $42,000 in debt, credit cards mostly, plus some leftover student loans. He'd gotten into trouble in his mid-20s, living beyond his means, trying to keep up with friends who made more money than him, financing a lifestyle he couldn't afford. He hit rock bottom when his car broke down and he couldn't afford to fix it. Had to borrow money from his dad, which was humiliating for a grown man with a full-time job. That was his wake-up call. Marcus went hard. He read every finance book he could find. He listened to podcasts. He created spreadsheets. He negotiated with creditors. He picked up freelance work on the side. In 28 months, he was debt-free. Every single penny. He felt incredible. He started investing. He maxed out his 401k. He opened a Roth IRA. He thought he had this money thing figured out. Now, let me walk you through what happened over the next 18 months. And pay attention, because this is where it gets interesting. Month 1-3, post-debt-free. Marcus is riding high. He's investing. He's saving. He's feeling good. He upgrades his phone because his old one was literally falling apart. Reasonable purchase. Month 4-6, his lease is up. He's been in a small one-bedroom that served its purpose during debt payoff. He decides to move to a nicer place, still within budget but a noticeable step up. New furniture to fill it. Nothing crazy, but we're talking $3,000, $4,000 in purchases over a couple months. Month 7-9, he starts dating someone seriously. Dinners out, weekend trips, gifts. His monthly fun spending doubles without him really noticing. Month 10-12, his car, which he kept during debt payoff, starts having issues again. Instead of fixing it, he decides to trade it in and finance a newer, reliable vehicle. Car payment. $389 month. Month 13-15. Work gets stressful. He stops tracking his spending as carefully. Starts ordering delivery more often. Buys some new clothes. Signs up for a few subscriptions he doesn't really need. Nothing individually problematic, but month 16-18. He opens his credit card statement and sees a balance of $11,200. Now, pause there. Let's break down what happened to Marcus. Did he do anything catastrophically wrong? No, he didn't lose his job. He didn't have a medical emergency. He didn't gamble or make any obviously stupid decisions. What happened was something far more insidious. Lifestyle drift. Each decision, in isolation, seemed reasonable. A better apartment, a reliable car, investing in his relationship, taking care of himself during a stressful period. But added together, those decisions created a new baseline, a new normal that was several $100s per month higher than his old normal. And here's the key insight. His income didn't change. He was still making $95,000. but his required monthly expenses had crept up by nearly $801,000 between the higher rent, the car payment, the increased lifestyle spending, and all the small leaks. That gap got filled with credit cards. Now Marcus caught himself at $11,200. He's since course-corrected and is working his way back down. But he told me something that I think is really important. He said, "I thought paying off my debt meant I was good at money. I didn't realize that being good at money is a daily practice, not a destination you reach." Let that sink in for a second. Being good at money is a daily practice, not a destination you reach. How many of us treat debt payoff like graduation? Like once we cross that stage, we're done learning? The people who stay financially free are the ones who understand that money management isn't a project you complete. It's a lifestyle you maintain. So now that we understand how this happens, let's talk about the specific traps that catch people after they pay off their debt. I've identified 5 patterns that show up over and over again. Silent killer. Number 1. The lifestyle inflation speed run. Normally, lifestyle inflation happens gradually over years. You get a raise, you spend a little more, you get promoted, you upgrade your car. It's slow enough that you barely notice. But post-debt payoff lifestyle inflation? That happens fast. Think about it. You've been living on half of what you make for 2 years. Suddenly you have all this extra money, and it feels like extra money because you've trained yourself to live on less. But that extra money was always supposed to go somewhere. To savings, to investments, to building an emergency fund, to giving you options. Instead, it disappears into upgraded everything. Better apartment, better car, better clothes, better vacations, better restaurants. And 6 months later, you're living paycheck to paycheck again, just at a higher level. Silent killer. Star 2. The emergency fund blind spot. Here's a stat that blows people's minds. Nearly 60% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency with savings. Now, if you just paid off all your debt, you might be thinking, "That's not me. I'm good with money." But ask yourself this. Right now, today, if your car engine died, if it cost $3,500 to fix, could you write that check without stressing? Without putting it on a credit card? Without dipping into money that was supposed to be for something else? If the answer is anything other than an immediate, confident yes, you're vulnerable. Many people, after paying off debt, don't prioritize rebuilding their emergency fund because they feel invincible. They feel like the worst is behind them. They feel like they've proven they can handle money. But emergencies don't care about your confidence. They don't care about your track record. They show up unannounced. And if you're not prepared, debt is waiting right there to help you. Silent killer. Number 3. The reward spending spiral. I touched on this earlier, but let's go deeper because this one is psychological. When you deprive yourself for a long time, your brain builds up desire. It's like holding a beach ball underwater. The longer you hold it, the harder it wants to pop up. When you finally release that pressure, the spending can become almost compulsive. Not because you need things, but because you've earned the right to have them. I deserve this. I worked so hard. I sacrificed for 2 years. All true statements. But here's the problem. Deserve-based spending has no natural stopping point. If you're spending because you deserve it, when do you stop deserving it? Never. Which means the spending doesn't stop either, at least not until the credit card statement arrives. Silent killer. Number 4. The comparison trap reloaded. During debt payoff, comparison often decreases because you have a clear reason to say no. "I can't afford it, I'm paying off debt" is a socially acceptable excuse. But once you're debt-free, that shield disappears. Your friends are planning a group trip to Mexico. Your coworkers are upgrading their cars. Your social media feed is full of people doing cool things. And you're standing there with no debt, but also no compelling reason to say no anymore. So you say yes. And yes again. And pretty soon, you're keeping up with people who may not even be able to afford the lifestyle they're showing you. Silent killer. Number 5. The system collapse. This is the most technical one, but maybe the most important. During debt payoff, many people build systems. They track every expense. They check their accounts daily. They have budgets. They have goals. They have accountability. These systems work because of the urgency of debt. The debt provides the motivation to maintain the systems. Once the debt is gone, the urgency fades, and slowly the systems erode. You stop checking your accounts daily, then weekly, then you only look when something feels off. You stop categorizing expenses. You stop reviewing your budget. You stop planning ahead. And without the systems, you're flying blind. You don't notice the slow drift until it's become a significant problem. These 5 silent killers, they don't work alone. They team up. They compound each other. And they are extremely good at what they do. All right. We've spent a lot of time understanding the problem, and I think that's important, because you can't fix what you don't understand. But now, let's shift gears. Let's talk about solutions. How do you pay off your debt and actually stay out of it? How do you break the cycle for real? I'm going to give you a framework, 5 pillars, and if you implement these, not perfectly, but consistently, you can build a financial life that doesn't loop back to the same problems. Pillar 1. The pre-game plan. This is something almost nobody does, and it's crucial. Before you make your final debt payment, ideally when you're 3 to 6 months away from being debt-free, you need to create a plan for what happens next. Where will the money you were putting toward debt go? What are your new financial goals? What does your post-debt budget look like? What boundaries will you set around lifestyle increases? Most people plan the debt payoff meticulously and then wing it afterward. That's like training for a marathon and then having no idea what your exercise routine will look like after race day. Sit down, right now if you're close to being debt-free, or soon if you're not, and write out your post-debt plan. Be specific. Be detailed. Give yourself a roadmap. Pillar 2. The 50% rule. Here's a concrete principle I recommend to everyone who pays off significant debt. For the first year after becoming debt-free, take 50% of what you were previously putting toward debt payments and redirect it immediately to wealth building. I'm talking about automatic transfers. The day after your final debt payment, set up automatic movements of that money to your emergency fund until it hits 3 to 6 months of expenses, your investment accounts, your other financial goals. Why 50% instead of 100%? Because I'm realistic. You will want to enjoy some of that money. You've earned breathing room. Giving yourself 50% to use for lifestyle prevents the deprivation backlash while ensuring you're still building wealth. The key word here is automatic. Don't rely on willpower. Set it and forget it. Pillar 3. Lifestyle guardrails. Instead of letting your lifestyle drift unconsciously, set intentional guardrails. Here's what I mean. Decide in advance what your allowable lifestyle increases are. For example, when your lease is up, rent can increase by maximum X amount. Your car replacement budget is capped at Y dollars, monthly dining out. Budget is Z dollars. Vacation spending is limited to W per year. Write these down. Discuss them with your partner if you have one. Treat them as non-negotiable unless you consciously decide to change them, with full awareness of the trade-offs. This doesn't mean never upgrading your life. It means upgrading intentionally rather than accidentally. Pillar 4. The weekly money date. Remember how I mentioned systems collapsing after debt payoff? Here's the antidote. Schedule a weekly 20-minute appointment with yourself. Put it on your calendar. Treat it like a meeting you can't miss. And during that time, review your spending from the past week. Check progress toward your goals. Look ahead at upcoming expenses. Make any necessary adjustments. This simple practice keeps you connected to your money. It prevents the blind drift. It catches problems early when they're small. I've been doing this for 7 years, and I can tell you, it's boring sometimes, but it's also saved me from countless financial mistakes. Pillar 5. The identity shift. This is the deepest pillar and possibly the most important. You need to shift your identity from person who is getting out of debt to person who builds wealth. These are different identities with different behaviors. A person getting out of debt says no to everything. A person building wealth says strategic yes to the right things and hell no to the wrong things. A person getting out of debt focuses on cutting expenses. A person building wealth focuses on increasing income and optimizing expenses. A person getting out of debt sees money as something to eliminate. A person building wealth sees money as a tool to create freedom. This identity shift doesn't happen automatically. You have to cultivate it intentionally. Read books about investing. Follow people who are building wealth, not just eliminating debt. Set goals that are about growth, not just recovery. Become the kind of person who stays debt-free, not because they're afraid of debt, but because they're busy building something better. Now I want to have a real conversation with you. Not theoretical advice. Practical, messy, human truth about what it takes to break this cycle. Truth number 1. You will mess up. I need you to accept this right now. You will make financial mistakes after paying off your debt. You'll buy something dumb. You'll overspend somewhere. You'll have a month where everything goes sideways. This is not failure. This is being human. The difference between people who stay free and people who cycle back isn't perfection, it's resilience. It's the ability to catch yourself, forgive yourself, and get back on track quickly. One bad month doesn't erase 18 good ones. Unless you let shame convince you that you're broken and you might as well give up. Truth number 2. Your environment matters more than your willpower. If everyone around you is spending recklessly, you will spend more. That's just science. Social norms are powerful. This doesn't mean you need new friends, but it might mean having honest conversations. It might mean suggesting lower-cost alternatives. It might mean being the person who brings up the budget before the plans get locked in. And if your current environment is actively hostile to your financial goals, you might need to make some changes. Distance yourself from toxic money influences. Find community with people who are on a similar path. Truth number 3. The numbers matter, but the story matters more. You can have a perfect budget on paper and still fail if your internal narrative is wrong. If your story is, "I'm bad with money," you'll prove yourself right. If your story is, "I'll never be truly free," you'll stay trapped. If your story is, "Everyone struggles with this, it's hopeless," you'll stop trying. Pay attention to the stories you tell yourself about money. When you catch a negative story, rewrite it. I'm learning to manage money better every day. I am building lasting financial freedom. I have overcome challenges before, and I will overcome this one. Sounds woo-woo. Maybe. But I've seen it work too many times to dismiss it. Truth number 4. Small, consistent actions beat big, dramatic ones. The debt payoff phase often requires heroic effort. Extra jobs, extreme budgeting, sacrifice on top of sacrifice. But maintenance mode? That's about boring consistency. It's about saving a little bit every month, not huge lump sums. It's about making mostly good decisions, not perfect ones. It's about staying engaged over years, not intense focus for months. If you're waiting for motivation to strike so you can have another debt payoff style push, you'll be waiting forever. The energy of crisis-driven action isn't sustainable long-term. Instead, build habits that are easy enough to maintain forever. Lower the bar, show up consistently, trust the compounding. Truth number 5. Freedom isn't about having everything you want, it's about wanting what you have. This is philosophical, but hang with me. The debt cycle often stems from a gap between what we have and what we want. We try to close that gap with borrowed money. We pay it off. The gap reappears. We borrow again. True financial freedom comes partly from increasing what you have, but equally from managing what you want. Practice gratitude. Practice contentment. Practice distinguishing between needs and manufactured desires. This isn't about never wanting more. It's about wanting more from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. It's about growth, not compensation. I want to end with something deeper than tactics and strategies, something that took me years to learn and that I hope saves you some of that time. Money is a mirror. It reflects your values, your fears, your habits, your beliefs about yourself and the world. When you're stuck in a debt cycle, the problem isn't really the debt. The debt is just the symptom. The root cause is something internal, something about your relationship with scarcity or worthiness or security or identity. Some people use debt to soothe anxiety. Some people use spending to fill emptiness. Some people accumulate debt because they don't believe they deserve stability. Some people cycle in and out of debt because chaos feels familiar and safety feels foreign. I don't know which of these resonates with you. Only you can answer that. But I know this. Until you address the internal pattern, the external pattern will keep repeating. You can pay off the debt 10 times, and it will come back 11 times, because you haven't changed the thing that creates it. So here's my challenge to you, and it's bigger than a budget or a plan. Get curious about your money story. Why do you spend the way you spend? What emotions drive your financial decisions? What are you really looking for when you reach for your wallet? What would your life look like if you felt truly abundant, regardless of your bank account balance? These aren't easy questions. They might require therapy, journaling, honest conversations with people you trust, or just a lot of quiet reflection. But I promise you this, the return on that investment is infinite. Because when you heal your relationship with money, you don't just fix your finances. You fix the anxiety that keeps you up at night. You fix the shame that makes you hide from your bank account. You fix the patterns that have been running your life without your permission. And that's true freedom. Not freedom from debt, though that's wonderful. Freedom from the need for debt. Freedom from the cycle. Freedom to build a life that reflects who you actually are, not who you're trying to compensate for. So, where do you start? If you're currently in debt, start by forgiving yourself. Shame is terrible fuel for change. Accept where you are, commit to where you're going, and take one small step today. If you're debt-free but feeling the pull of old patterns, start by auditing your recent spending. Look for the drift, catch it early, recommit to your systems. If you're somewhere in between, paying off debt but worried about what comes next, start writing your post-debt plan now. Don't wait until you cross the finish line to figure out what's after it. And whoever you are, wherever you are, remember that you are not your bank account. You are not your credit score. You are not your mistakes or your debts. You are a person learning, growing, and doing the best you can with what you have. And that is enough to start from. If this video resonated with you, if you saw yourself in any of these stories, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below about where you are in your journey and what you're committing to changing. Let's create some accountability together. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, who's trapped in the cycle or terrified of falling back into it, send this to them. Sometimes the right message at the right time can change everything. Hit that subscribe button if you want more content like this. We've got a lot of conversations ahead about money, life, and the intersection where they meet. I'm Daniel Brooks, this is Wealthic Voyage, and I'll see you in the next video.